Hello everyone, welcome back to A Wild Approach. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the wildlife pond. So we put this wildlife pond in starting back in March, I think it was, and now I'm recording this audio today on Monday, June 23rd. So you're going to see this pond from about May 23rd all the way to about June 20th. So the first thing that you typically get in your pond is mosquito larvae. It's a thing. Some people use mosquito dunks in the beginning, but I wanted to see what would happen if I did not. And so I will leave that up to you. I didn't do an experiment where I had two different ponds where I was doing two different things to them, so I can't really compare it to a pond exactly like this one, but just with using mosquito dunks, but I did not use them in this case, in this pond. I wanted to see the predators show up to eat the mosquito larvae, and as you can see in this footage, there's just a few mosquito larvae in there compared to the last episode. If you haven't seen the previous episode, I highly recommend you watch that one first, because then you will see a full evolution of the pond over time, over the past few months. So the water striders, and you can maybe see the little baby water striders in this footage. They're really tiny in this particular clip, but the water striders really came through. They eat a lot of mosquito larvae. They also eat any of those little ants or flies or anything that fall into your pond and drown. They will eat those. So they're really, really good at cleaning up your pond of things that you may not really like as much, like the mosquito larvae and the little flies and ants and things. And the water striders, they can actually fly. So what happens is they may leave one habitat and fly over and see a better habitat from the air and land and just decide to live there for a while. So they can actually move from water source to water source. So that is how they showed up. They flew in and they just showed up. But here are some frog eggs. So right around May 26th, we got frog eggs in the pond. Very excited. And the thing moving in this clip is actually like an ant or something. Again, the water striders will eat that. But these little circles that you see are the frog eggs, May 26th. I was so excited because I did not actually expect the frogs to find my pond so fast. I thought, well, maybe they'll hang around it, but maybe they won't lay eggs yet. I actually didn't think that this would happen until months later, if not a year or two later. So for it to happen within just like 3 months, like March, April, May, within just 3 months was pretty incredible. So you guys, my native water lily got here today, and I'm really excited. And it's actually a full-blown plant. I thought it was going to be bare root. But it's actually a full-blown plant. Really excited about it. I'm going to try to put it in here so that I can lower it carefully into the middle of the deep part of the pond, because that's where I want it to go. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to transfer it from this pot that it came in to this. And you can see there is a height difference, so I don't know if it's going to be a good equivalent or not. But the soil level is kind of down in there. I do need to put some rocks over top of the soil once I get it in here to help prevent a lot of the soil from just like dispersing through the pond. I mean, it'll still happen, but not as much, if the top of the soil is covered in pebbles, which I haven't rinsed those off yet, so that's something I need to do too. But I might want to lower this into the pond with the shepherd's hooks so I don't have to get in the pond, because it is a pretty deep spot. And so I might actually have to drill holes in this first so that I can hook the shepherd hooks on. I don't know, I might be able to just hook them under here. That looks promising. I'm gonna test that first because I don't want to get that wrong. So I'm gonna try that first. Hi guys, could you hit the like button underneath this video? It helps me know which videos resonate most with you guys. Do you need a short, quick guide to get started in wildlife gardening? Well, turns out I've got just the thing. I just came out with a new free ebook just for you, and it's called A Wild Approach to Gardening 101, and it's available on my website today at macylou.com/shop. It's free, so go check it out. What do you have to lose? Okay. Okay, cool. So, yeah, you hold that stuff. But the question is we still have to get close to it.
Yeah, we both have to be
Here.
firm somehow.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we need to be over there. It's gonna be tough. Of course, it'll be. Okay, I don't want to step on this rock in case there's a frog under it, so.
Which one?
You're good, you're good.
Which rock?
That big rock, just in case there's a frog under it, so just step around it. Okay.
Where's the flattest spot?
Where is the
it's like
deepest spot? Watch it float completely.
Float this way a little bit. Okay.
Oh. Oh, that's the difficult part. Hold on. So is it hitting an edge?
I think when I said pull it this way a little bit, you lifted yours up instead of just sliding it over.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you meant up.
Here,
So tell me what you want.
I think I actually have both.
Okay.
If I can just let it down myself.
Your gloves are so slippery though.
There's no way for me to know if it's straight or not.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, put it back. I'll put my hand in there. I just don't want to go. It's not. Here, go further this way. And then lower slowly. Oh, I lost it.
I think it's not straight.
I might have to put my arms. Hold on, I'll just have to put my arms in there. I'm just gonna have to do it.
I don't think you can.
I need my kneeling pad real quick. Okay, are you good? Will I go get it? Come back around. So I didn't trust myself to get back over. Alright, where was I at? Right here? It's falling. It's so deep.
It's sitting down like this. Is it flat?
It's not flat. Go to the north a little bit. Uh-oh. Okay, it's full. Okay, now kind of just let down a little bit.
It's all the way right now. Is it flat?
I think so. I think we're good. So I just need to.
That's not gonna work. It's gonna try to pull it out.
Hold on. You can let go of this side. No, my side. It's okay, let go. I lost the pot.
Just follow where this is. Like pull yours taut.
Yeah.
And just follow that down.
I know, but. Oh, there it is. Okay, so remind me how this is tied.
So it goes underneath on your side.
Okay, So this needs to come out, and then this needs to come through, right? Got it. Hold on. Oh, it's cool. Shit. I found the other piece, okay. Right. I don't know how this works though. You're gonna have to. Oh, you don't want to be your hand. Is that supposed to be your side?
It should be. It should. Here, I think this end has to go down because I think it's preventing it.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. I don't know. Here, you take a break. Your arms are probably hurting. It'll be like a boat. I'll just kind of like, you know, hold it up on the shore and all.
Do you need to work on that?
I don't know where the other handle is the issue.
Well, it's.
This is all on camera.
Is that? Did you press record?
I did, yeah. I think I might have to be where you are. I think you're gonna have to go carefully away without hitting the tripod. You can go through there if you need to.
Right here.
Okay.
So then I can grab. Or
I'm decimating this plant over here. I probably went too far away.
I have my hand like on you, so I can like pull you back if I have to.
You're my hero.
There's the little thing. Oh, did you got it? Okay. Oh, shit, it's not working.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you just saw was me and my husband and I, planting the native water lily, which I think is called fragrant water lily. And if I'm not mistaken, the one I ordered was pink. And so we planted that, we used wire in the basket, and then we pulled the wire out. So that is how we planted the water lily. And that was May, I think, I don't know, May 31st, I believe we planted it. And so now you're seeing footage from June 1st. And of course, it can take time for the water lilies to actually grow enough for you to see their lily pads. So I was just being patient, and that's kind of my strategy with everything with this pond, is to just be patient. And yes, you can see the mud daubers were having a blast. So the main wildlife critters in the pond and around the pond are the mud daubers, the water stratters, the mosquito larvae at first, until the water stratters took care of them, the tadpoles, which are also in this clip. I don't know if you saw that tadpole to the left of the mud dauber, and the dragonflies laid eggs, which I can't really see the dragonfly eggs. This is a dragonfly right here laying eggs in the pond. It just dips its tail into the pond. You can kind of see the ripples when it dips its tail. It was really hard to get any photos of this. I just took screenshots from the video and posted those on my social media, but the video is actually better than the photos just because you can actually see it in action, and you can kind of see it dipping its tail in the water. It's really hard to see it like in detail, but you can get the idea. And trust me, later in this video you're going to see the dragonfly nymphs, and it's going to be really cool. So stay tuned for that later in the video. But this is June 1st, and you can see the dragonfly is having a blast laying eggs. This is definitely habitat that it enjoys. And just to give you guys an idea of some of the plants I have in this pond, I started out with Virginia buttonweed, which Virginia buttonweed are all those little tiny plants near the shallow end that are like on the bottom of the screen right now, the little tiny plants sticking out of the water a little bit, that's Virginia buttonweed. I literally just dug that out of my lawn and just planted it in the pond, because when I first started the pond, I had no plants, and so I just stuck those in there. And then my friends gave me a bunch of pond plants, and so I started out with just a couple pond plants from a friend, and then I had a bunch more pond plants from another friend. And so the first thing was this Virginia buttonweed, which was the little white flowers you just saw. And then, of course, my common milkweed is just prolific in my garden, and this was basically mostly a common milkweed garden before we put the pond in, and so it's not really an issue at all having foliage around the pond, because I already had all this common milkweed coming back up for the season. And it is a very prolific plant. If you do not know, common milkweed roots underground, and it runs underground. And all my common milkweed is actually from the same plant. I will repeat that. All my common milkweed is from the same plant, which could actually be an issue. I'm not really sure. And the reason for that is because when I started them from seed, only one actually survived, and I planted it in the garden, and then it just spread from that one plant. So that is why all the genetics, it's all the same genetics as far as I'm aware, because it's all from the same root. And I know that sounds wild, but that's just how it happened. That's just how it turned out. And that is how prolific this plant is. You could put one in your garden and have plenty of it. But I don't suggest that because of genetic reasons. I think it's better to have a diversity of genetics, because when later in the season, when this thing gets hit with that fungal, I forget what it's called, but there's like some kind of aphid fungal thing or whatever, all of them get hit with it because all of them are the same plant. So they get hit with it, almost all of them at the same time. Anyway, here's some footage from June 1st. You can see the Virginia buttonweed is growing in, getting a little bit denser. And if you recall the frog eggs that we saw in a previous clip earlier in the video, they were laying them like all clumped around the Virginia buttonweed. So I think they really like to lay their eggs around the foliage of plants if possible. Now this isn't, necessarily always the case, I don't think, because, sometimes people get frogs in their pool, and their pool likely doesn't have plants growing in it that I know of, and so I don't know where they lay their eggs. When that happens, maybe they lay them around debris in the pool, maybe. But all I can tell you when it comes to my pond is that they tend to lay their eggs around the live plants, the Virginia buttonweed, and then some of the, I keep calling it, I don't know if it's path rush or poverty grass or poverty rush. I'm not sure. I get those mixed up, or maybe it's the same plant. I don't know, but I love that thing. It's kind of in the middle of the screen right now. But they like to lay their eggs around parts of that plant as well, like pieces of that plant that fall off, or like when it kind of falls over and dips into the pond, they like to lay their eggs around that too. So I've been finding like different iterations of the tadpoles, if that's the way you want to word it, like different groupings. So like there were some eggs, and then like a couple weeks went by, and then there were some new eggs. So anyway, there are different litters, for lack of a better word, of tadpoles throughout the months that you're watching. And actually this video is just a month, so just about a month long. So I've condensed a month's worth of footage into an hour-ish long video. So this is a long video, so I'm just gonna apologize for that up front. But I didn't really want to cut anything out because I wanted you to get a really good idea of the succession of the pond, of the evolution of the pond, and how things. You see those tadpoles swimming around? Isn't that cute? The tadpoles are really swimming around in there. And so let's talk about my goals with this pond, and then I will give you some tips. Okay, so my main goals with this pond were three main goals. 1, attract frogs. 2, attract dragonflies. And 3, I really wanted water lilies. Okay, so those are my 3 main goals. And so far, I have accomplished all 3 in much quicker of a time frame than I expected. Now, going forward, my new goals, or I guess maybe just more of a goal that is ongoing, is to make the pond more aesthetically pleasing. And it is gradually over time becoming more and more pretty, more and more aesthetically pleasing. But I'm going to go into multiple tips on creating this wildlife pond in this video and making it more aesthetically pleasing. So let's talk about it. So first of all, this pond, I don't have the exact measurements of it. I should have done that before filming this, but let's talk about depth. So I have 2 shallow ends of this pond. One on more of the east end of it, and the other shallow part is on more of the west end of it, which we're looking at right now. This is the west end shallow part. And so the west end is more of an area to plant the marginal plants. The marginal plants that need a little bit more soil to root into, that's where I plant most of those, is on this west end. But I also plant some on the north bank of the pond, the north end of the pond, okay? Because that was already kind of created, I already kind of created a shelf when we created the pond. I had them dig a shelf. Now, this is really, really important. If you have the space to make the entire perimeter of your pond gradual or shelf-like, or a mixture of the two, that is ideal. If you can make the entire edges, all the edges of your pond, gradual and or a shelf, which in turn you can turn into a gradual sloping of the soil. This is important because not only does it help the wildlife get in and out of your pond, but this is really, really important because it not only helps the wildlife get in and out of your pond, but it also helps you plant your plants. Because when you have too steep of edges on your pond, it's really, really hard to add your soil and your plants. Okay? Now, mine has a steep side, and that is the south side of the pond. The south edge of the pond is steep compared to the rest of the pond. And you can kind of see that in this footage before I zoomed in. The berm is on the south side of the pond, okay? And the berm is steep when it comes to sloping into the water. Now, that is not ideal because as you can see in some of these clips, the pond liner shows a lot more on that side. Now, I could have kept trying to dig deeper and deeper into the berm and bury the liner or fold the liner. People have told me you could have rolled the liner up more, you could have done this and that. Yes, that is my suggestion. If you work on a pond, try your best to bury as much of that liner as you can. And the reason that mine is the way it is not only because that side of the pond is too steep and not gradual enough, but it's also because I actually did that twice. I actually dug that berm. I dug a trench into that berm to hide the liner. I did that twice, and it still is showing, okay? So it's not for lack of trying. It's for lack of proper spacing. So if I was to do this over again, I would have just dug out the hawthorn because I was avoiding getting rid of the hawthorn. But I would have just, if I would have known what I know now, I would have just got rid of the hawthorn, made the pond just a little bit bigger that way to the south so that I could, even though I had to have the berm in order to make it level, I would have had a little bit more of an opportunity to make that berm more gradual into the water on that side, which would make it more gradual all the way around, which would have helped with covering the liner better. It would have helped with having more soil around the edges better. It would have helped with planting more plants around the edges better, and it would help the wildlife get in and out better on that side versus just the other shallow ends, okay? So that is my recommendation. Those are my tips. Now, moving forward, I should still be able to hopefully cover the liner completely over time, adding more soil on top of it. Now, keep in mind that mud daubers, they actually take the mud to create their homes. That is what they're doing in a lot of these clips. You will see mud daubers taking mud from the edges of the pond. So when you put soil in your pond to create your mud and to create your shorelines and your areas for plants, just keep in mind that you will need more soil than you think you need, because the mud daubers are going to take a lot of it. It doesn't seem like they're taking much because they take like one little sphere at a time. It's like a perfect little sphere, right? But over time, you will end up with these like dents in your soil, like that are inches wide and inches long, okay? And inches deep sometimes. And so they're taking a pretty good chunk of your soil over time, over the month-long period or whatever it is that they're building, right? It doesn't seem like it, but they are. And so try to account for that when you put your soil in and around your pond. Try to keep in mind that any of the soil that is on the shelves, on the shallow end, and the edges, is going to get, a lot of that is going to get stolen by the mud daubers, and that's totally fine. They need that to build their nests, their shelters. Mud daubers are really not that aggressive at all. They're actually, I wouldn't even call them aggressive at all. They're pretty docile. You just want to move slowly around them so that you don't like interfere with their work. You don't want to actually bump into them or them bump into you. It's not that they can't sting, it's just that they're very unlikely to sting compared to, say, a yellow jacket or something like that. So they're very docile. I have been hanging out with them at the pond so many times I've lost count. I've filmed them, I've zoomed in on them, I've gotten really close to them, and they haven't bothered me. Now, they have a flight path, so they might fly really close to your face just to try to like fly up from the pond and fly up over your house or your head or your pond. And so you just kind of want to be careful. You know, you don't want them to accidentally bump into you or anything like that, because that's where you could get stung. So you just kind of want to watch what you're doing and, you know, what they're doing. And so far, so good with that. No problems. But they're taking a lot of the soil. So I'm going to have to go back in and I'm going to have to put more soil in and around the edges of the pond, because that contributes to the pond liner being exposed. And even though the pond liner is UV resistant and it is really tough, it's durable, it's sturdy, you know, you still want to protect it as much as you can. And in this footage, you can see the liner is exposed. And this is the steeper end, and that is another reason it is being exposed so much, is when I put and when I build soil there, it kind of just falls into the pond because it doesn't have a shelf to stack. So really think of shelves as just a place to stack your soil so that it doesn't fall as easily into your pond. And so the more of a shelf that you have, or shallow ends that you have, or the more gradual your pond is, the better it will look, the more natural it will look, and the better it will protect and hide your liner. Again, I did bury the liner. I know it doesn't look like it on certain areas, and that's because I couldn't dig any lower, any deeper into the berm. And it's really because there's a berm. That really does make it difficult. So if your yard, find the most level part of your yard as possible, because then you won't have to have as much or at all a berm at all. Because like, if you can get away with not having a berm, it's going to make your life so much easier. Because the problem with the berm around that side of the pond is that it it makes you not want to dig and bury the liner too much lower because the liner is holding the water there. Does that make sense? The berm is holding the water there, the liner is holding the water there. So if you dig it too deep, your water's going to just come out of your pond. It is really confusing when you're trying to make sure that everything's level. Let's put it that way. So I didn't really have a level place to put my pond. Like, I just didn't. The only place that I ever had that was really level is in the backyard, and it's already got, like, there's too much going on back there, and I could not put it there. There's electrical lines, there's the dry creek that I put in, there's mostly the electrical lines are the biggest issue, and there is, like, big chunks of concrete from the old porch. It would have been, I don't think we could have even dug it back there, and it would have been really close to the back of my house. And so if we did have any issues with the pond overflowing or anything like that, it would have just come right back into our foundation, which would not have been great. So this was my best spot for my pond because I am on a hill. I know that sounds really out there, like, okay, you put a pond on a hill and you had to create a berm to make it level. Yeah, it's a challenging spot. But I do not regret it whatsoever because look at the tadpoles, look at the water striders, and look at all the life that is at the pond, including this red wasp, which, yeah, maybe it's not my favorite species of wasp, but right next to it's a mud dauber, okay? That little wasp, he's just getting him a drink. Yes, I've been stung by a red wasp before, and it is not fun, but I'm lucky that I am not allergic and that I was able to handle it. The sting. Very lucky. But yeah, look at these perfect little spheres these mud daubers are getting out of the mud. It's pretty cool to watch, even though they are stealing my soil. I can't help but be impressed. This one was super picky. This one was like, I am not happy with the quality of the mud in this spot. I am searching and searching. I'm not finding what I want at this grocery store. I'm going to have to go elsewhere. Actually, it would be more like a hardware store. I'm not finding the building materials at this hardware store that I need. So I need to go to a different hardware store. Anyways, and then here's some more tadpoles and water striders. It's just so fun to just sit here and watch. Do you know how many times I just squat at the edge of the pond and I just stare at it and I just watch the wildlife? It's a blast, okay? It is a blast. I actually can't get enough of it. I just really can't get enough of it. But okay, so I gave you the tips about the soil. I gave you the tips about hiding the liner, about putting more soil than you think you're going to need. And again, because we had to make the berm, we didn't really have a lot of our, look at that sphere, look at that perfect sphere. We didn't really have a lot of native soil to put back into the pond and onto the pond edges. So I had to buy a lot of my soil, and I'll tell you where I got it, because I got this tip from a person who does this for a living, a person who works on wetlands for a living, and they plant marginal plants as their job. They said you can use, and no, I'm not sponsored, but I'm just going to say what I used. You can use Ace Hardware topsoil in bags, okay? The Ace Hardware topsoil that's in the bags, yeah. That's what I used to create the shore, like the soil shore, and how I planted my plants. That's what I planted them in, was that stuff. I screened it though, because my friend gave me a screen to borrow. And so I used that to screen it because there are some chunks in it and some sharp edges on some of those chunks. And so I think just to be safe, rather be safe than sorry, screening the soil is better to do. Same thing with your native soil. It's better to screen it, especially if you're like me and you have a lot of rocks in your soil. Big rocks, medium rocks, small rocks. This will screen out the bigger and the medium-sized rocks, and it will just leave like the small little rocks in your soil if you use a screen. I don't remember the gauge of the screen that I have. It's some kind of hardware cloth. over some pieces of wood is really what the screen is made of. It's not like window screen. It's not that tiny. That would be really annoying to deal with. It's bigger than that. So if I can figure out what that number is, I'll put it on the screen. But if it's not on the screen, then I haven't figured out what that number is. But here are some frog eggs that have turned into tadpoles. Look how tiny they are. They're so tiny. This is somewhere between egg stage and tadpole swimming stage. Like, here's the tadpole swimming stage here, but you just saw the in-between, right? So cool. They were in all different stages of development. It was so fun to watch. And anyway, the Ace Hardware topsoil. Yeah, that's what I used to plant my plants, to hide the liner, to basically do all the edges of the pond. And I also used it in my water lily pot. So my water lily pot is a basket. I bought like a pond plant basket online, and I bought the water lily from like Missouri, I think it's called Missouri Wildlife Plants or something. I forget the name of it. But it is something like Missouri Wildlife Plants. Or Missouri Wildlife Nursery. Something like that. But it is so nice. I love ordering from them. I actually thought the water lily was gonna be a bare root, but it ended up being a potted plant. But that made my life so much easier. I just took that out of its pot. I put it into the basket. I put some of that Ace Hardware topsoil around the outside, the empty space between the basket edge and the root ball of the water lily. And then I put some little pebbles or some river rocks, whatever you want to call them, on top of the soil in the basket. And then I ran wire through the basket. My husband and I ran wire through the basket handle holes. And then we used the wire to lower the lily into the pond because I didn't want to get in the pond. Okay? I don't like not being able to see. It's very mucky and clouded when you first create your pond. And I couldn't see to the bottom, not even close. So I did not want to get in it if I didn't have to. So we used wire to lower the water lily down into the pond. Worked like a charm. You saw that already earlier in the video. You saw us struggling a little bit, but it did work. And we were able to pull the wire back out of the basket. It worked like a charm. I was going to try to use shepherd hooks, but that was not going to work. We tested that. Couldn't do it. But the wire worked perfectly. And it's just like galvanized wire that I actually buy from the hardware store for my paintings, actually. I actually use it on the back of my paintings for them to hang on walls. It's super easy. I think it's galvanized wire. Anyway, really cool. Really easy. Don't use that wire that has like all the warning labels on it where it's like reproductive harm and da-da-da-da, and it's supposed to be for outside, but it rusts like crazy. Don't use that wire. Okay? Use the wire that's in the hardware section of the hardware store, right where it usually has like an orange packaging and it's on a roll. It's on like a small roll, and it has different pound numbers on it, like different pounds that it can actually carry the weight of, if that makes sense, because it is for picture hanging, right? Use that wire if you're going to do this way. And anyway, here you go. You can see the water lily starting to send its leaves up. That yellow one ended up separating and dying off, so I pulled that one out of the pond later on. I don't think I have footage of me doing that, but I did pull that one out because it was just loose. It was not attached anymore because it had died off. That's perfectly normal. Some people actually completely trim their water lily down to the root and then put it in their pond and let it grow fresh. I didn't do that because I didn't really know that at the time. I kind of do things and then find out later like, oh, I could have done it a different way. But that's okay because mine still worked out. So even though that leaf died off, the other ones, they've been coming up really well. It's been getting more and more leaves slowly over the past month. And right now I have like 5 leaves on my water lily today, June 23rd. So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know if it's going to bloom this year since I just put it in this year, but if it does, it should bloom in the next month or two. So we'll see. But I'm not going to have that expectation on it. I mean, I'm going to be fine if it's just leaves this year. Here's some more little tadpole egg kind of in-betweens. Did you see that? Oh, so cute, so cute. Anyways, so do I have any other tips? Oh, when you are planting your plants in your pond, it's going to cloud your pond. It's totally normal. It's totally normal for your pond to be cloudy the first few months, I guess you could say. Mine is clearing up gradually. I've noticed it's been more and more clear as I've stopped working on it. So I have been temporarily pausing any work on the pond because I want to see how clear is it going to get. Because the plants are doing their work, the tadpoles are doing their work, the dragonfly nymphs are doing their work, the water striders are doing their work. So many things do their jobs in your pond, and it may or may not clear completely up on its own. I'm not sure yet. So I'm keeping an eye on that, but it's definitely getting more and more clear every week. So every week it's been getting more and more clear. So as you watch this video, and I hope you have a snack or a drink because this is a long video, I totally get it. But if you've been watching this video, then you've probably seen how cloudy it was in the beginning of this video and how it looked like clay because a lot of the soil is clay based, right? But as you can see, it's clearing up more and more and more and more. And my theory of that is just, or I guess I should say hypothesis technically, because I'm not a scientist. But my hypothesis is this is a mix of having plants that are growing in the pond, their roots are going into the water and to the soil, and they're actually soaking up a lot of the nutrients, but also things are just settling. Like a lot of the sediment and the dirt is just kind of finally settling to the bottom of the pond. So it's kind of a mix of both of those, I think. And then tadpoles actually feed on some of the things that cloud your pond. It's my understanding that tadpoles eat algae and other things like that that make your pond more cloudy and less clear. So over time, as the tadpoles feed, as the plants feed and soak up nutrients, as the water lily grows and grows and grows, hopefully, if it does well this whole time, it should, in theory, clear up a little bit more. So we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you guys updated because I don't want to put a filter in here if I don't have to. I might have to, we will see. And I don't necessarily need the pond to be like crystal clear. Would it be nice because then I could see all the way down? Of course it would be nice. But I don't have to have that. That's not like my number one goal. I already told you my 3 goals were attract the frogs, attract the dragonflies. I want them to live in and around the pond and to have water lilies. And I've already accomplished all of those. And so to me, the amount of crystal clearness of the pond is more of an aesthetic thing. And yeah, it would be nice. But I also wonder, and I think I said this in the previous video, but I also wonder like how good is it for the wildlife for the pond to be completely crystal clear, because then they can be seen better and maybe picked off by predators easier. So food for thought. I don't know. You know, maybe there's some kind of balance that can be given there, you know, between being completely clear and being a little clouded, because as they go deeper, they can kind of protect themselves. As the wildlife kind of swims deeper in there, then they can't be seen. You know, you notice that in a lot of these clips because of the cloudiness of the water. But also over time, if the plants do well and they grow in and they shade the pond, that should help prevent extensive algae growth. That should help shade the water, cool the water, and it should help also protect the wildlife from being seen as well. Also, so I'm kind of thinking like maybe over time it will work itself out, and if it doesn't, then I can add a filter if I have to. but I am trying to see if it can sustain itself or not, because I'm super curious about that. But to be fair, it's not sustaining itself completely with no input whatsoever, because I have added plants to it. I have added water to it. Now, so far, I've not used the hose on this pond at all. The initial fill up of the pond was rainwater from the downspout that we hooked up to it from our house, because our house is right above this pond. It's just feet away, so it was super easy to just hook the downspout up to it. If you watched the first pond video, then you will have seen it filling up, which was a pretty cool thing. We had a lot of storms. It was perfect for the rain to just fill up the pond, right? But the pond does go up and down in water level. So the more rain you have, obviously the more full the pond is going to be. And the less rain you have, the more evaporation you're going to have, because there's just going to be less, like you might have more evaporation versus less, and also less rain. And when that happens, your water level will go down a little bit. And so I do have a filter I can put on my hose so that I can actually use the municipal water in the pond, but I haven't done it yet because I'm putting that off as long as possible. In the meantime, I have a dehumidifier in my basement, and so that thing has to be emptied almost every day, and it's kind of just something we use to top off the pond at this point. Rather than just pouring it down the drain and just wasting it, we just top off the pond with it, because it is decently clean water, you know, compared to the things that would be in the water from the city, right? And so far it's been working great, and just every now and then we top it off with the dehumidifier water, but we still have that filter for the hose just in case we have to do a big fill up. For instance, July, like late July, all the way through August, and even maybe September could be really, really dry here, and we could get a lot of evaporation, because it could be really, really dry, not as much rain, not as many storms, and at the same time the temperatures are going to soar. And that is when the pond could really dip into really low levels. And so that's probably when we're going to have to take out that hose and that filter, slap the filter onto it, and use that to fill the pond up. That's probably going to have to happen. But if it does, I'll let you guys know, because I am going to put it off as long as I can. Because why not? Why not use the dehumidifier water as long as we can until it's not enough anymore? Because it really isn't that much water. It's like a little bucket, and we could do it every day if we need to. So it'd be like a bucket of water every day. But I just have a feeling that's not going to be enough whenever the really hot, dry days hit. So we'll play it by ear, and we will see what happens. But I'm trying to think of any more tips, any other ideas. Oh, you also need to know that soapy water is not good for your pond. So you wouldn't want to use like your bath water or anything, obviously, because of any like soap or shampoo or any of that. You wouldn't want any of that in your pond if you can help it. And so you can't really use that to fill up your pond and keep it level. The water stratters, there's been an experiment someone did where they exposed water stratters to soapy water, and it kind of makes them struggle to stay on the surface of the water. They could drown. And so that's just one example of why the soap is just not good to be in your pond. So try to keep your pond protected from contaminants if you can. And just keep that in mind, like when you wash your car, or when you, when you wash your shoes, like anything that you do like that, just try to keep in mind not to let that soapy water get into your pond. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and I also plan to pull out or cut back some of the plants on the north side of the pond, because that's our view from our house, from our windows, from our front porch. And it's actually kind of getting difficult to see the pond from the house and the front porch, because The common milkweed, for example, is just getting so tall, so it's getting really hard to see the pond. So I think I might cut back or pull out some of those plants, but I have to be careful because it's also the buffer between the path, the concrete path, and the actual pond itself. And you want to make sure that you do have as much of a buffer all the way around your pond as possible of plants so that they can soak up as many contaminants as possible, especially since my pond is so close to my main path, which is concrete. So it's not ideal because, you know, as it rains and storms, whatever contaminants are on your concrete could get into your pond. And so it's important to keep plantings in that soil area between the pond and the path. So it's not that I'm going to get rid of them all, but I might try to find shorter plants to put there. I might just cut back what I have and let it flush back new growth. I might remove some of them, but not all of them. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance on it. But for now, I'm letting it settle as much as possible to see how crystal clear this water will actually get. And as we go further and further in this video, you can see how clear the water is. You can actually see the dragonfly nymphs in this footage, which they're really hard to see because they are basically the color of the soil. Like, see how much they look like the soil? They blend in with the soil. But right here, the water is so clear, and because the pond liner is exposed, it makes it super easy to see the dragonfly nymphs. And they're kind of creepy, aren't they? They're cute, but they're also kind of like straight up creepy, okay? Did you just see it? It just ate. Its jaw, I don't even know how to describe it, but its mouth isn't just like, oh, I'm just taking a little bite and I'm all cute, right? Its jaw like juts way out and it's almost like a claw. It is wild. These things look like little aliens from outer space, but it is so cool to be able to host them and to see them up close and for them to actually use the garden and live here. I'm like a kid in a candy store with this pond, okay? I could watch this pond all day long, okay? I really, really could. They're awesome. All the critters that live here are awesome. So the pond is definitely becoming sort of the heart of the garden, sort of the center, I don't know, town square of the garden, so to speak, for the wildlife, because not only do we have these aquatic creatures living in it, but the birds also congregate at the pond. Sometimes they fight each other over the pond, and sometimes you'll have like 8, 9 birds in this pond all at once. They use it as a bird bath, and they love it. They love it. I think you saw a lot of that in the previous video, but a little bit in this video as well. And it's just, everybody uses the pond. Almost everybody uses the pond. The pond is super important, I feel like, to this garden now. And even, I don't have footage of it, I don't think, but even like the little tiny bumblebees will come and drink from the pond. And butterflies have been puddling next to the pond, like on the edges where the mud is like a little bit more dry. And it's just really, really cool. Oh, and there's snails. I think that's a snail right there. There's water snails. Those, I think, came from my friend because I got some plants from her, and I bet you that, because she had snails and I didn't have any yet, so I bet you my snails came from her plants and like her plant roots and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So sometimes when you get pond plants from friends, you're also going to get some of their wildlife along with it, which is pretty neat, and it helps your pond just thrive that much faster. And later on in this video, you're going to get to see frogs. An actual frog. An actual full frog without even a tail anymore. Later on in the video, which is pretty cool. But before I go, I do want to tell you that after this footage, it's not in this video at all, but after we already filmed all these clips, my neighbor actually was cleaning his pool, and his pool has a lot of tadpoles in it. So he gave me all his tadpoles and his frogs, which is really, really cool. Put them in the pond. was really excited about that. So not only do we already have the frog eggs and the tadpoles and everything that just naturally showed up, but then we had some more from my neighbor's pool to put in the pond, and so we've just got all the stages. I mean, we've had the eggs, we've had the middle stages of the tadpoles, we've had the actual tadpoles, and now we have the tadpoles that have like the legs, you know? And then I saw a frog in the backyard at the end of the video. You'll see it. So I'm just so excited. I can't get enough of this pond. It's really important to me, precious to me, and just adds so much more dimension to a garden. And I mean, it's so much fun too, because I still have so many things to add to this pond. I have so many ideas of plants I want to plant around the edges. And I just cannot wait to see how it fully unfolds and how everything flourishes and grows. And I'm just tickled. I'm really tickled about it. I mean, I can't even, I don't know. I can't even speak enough about the pond. Loving it. And I want to know what you guys think, so if you don't mind to leave me a comment down below. There's actually still quite a bit of footage and video to watch, so don't click out of this video. There's some really cool frog clips at the end of this video, so don't leave yet. But I am going to stop the voiceover part of this and just let you guys enjoy the rest of the pond footage. Look at that snail, that water snail, just having a great time, just swimming so happily. This was so cute. I loved it. But yeah, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And also, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I will see you in the next one. So enjoy the rest of the footage.
The other stick that's propped on the rock. Oh yeah, I do see it moving.
There it is. finger. Hey guys, don't forget to follow me on Blue Sky and Instagram. These are the two best social media accounts other than YouTube, where you can find me and you can see me post photos of the garden, thoughts on wildlife, and more. So don't forget to follow me over there. Brand new items are now available in the shop. Thanks so much to viewers like you for supporting the channel. To support the channel, like the video, comment, and subscribe. You can also support my work by buying art from me at macylou.com. Thanks for watching!